Welcome to Stitchery Stories, where textile artists share their life in fabric and thread, inspiration, techniques, disasters and delights. And I'm Susan Weeks, enthusiastic embroiderer and textile art dabbler who also loves podcasting. So take a break and enjoy our light-hearted chat, and please share with your friends so they can enjoy it too. Hello and welcome today to our lovely guest, Rie Wenham. Hi Rie.
Hi Sue.
Lovely to meet you today, and I have to say we did have some connection problems, but we seem all right now. So yeah.
Yes, we did. Computers do not like me.
Oh dear. Right. Anyway, I've got a bio here for Rie. I'm a London-based embroidery artist and designer. My specialised skills in embroidery are with goldwork, crewelwork and stumpwork embroidery, and I use all these techniques together in my pieces to create one-of-a-kind pins, patches and 3D artworks. I have a triple distinction in visual arts and design from the Brit School, where I aspired to be an illustrator using paint, pen and embroidery as my mediums. I then went to the Royal School of Needlework for a foundation degree in hand embroidery. Having both an art and embroidery background, I use these methods to create luxurious textures and colourful combinations of surface design. I work freelance as an embroiderer, stylist assistant, production seamstress, and very recently ventured into being an online tutor. All these industries are fast-paced and exciting, as you never know what you're doing until a few days beforehand. Yes, that's very true.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. The whirlwind, really.
Brilliant. Thank you for
You're
that.
welcome. Happy to be here.
And do you know what? I've suddenly realised that loads of guests recently have all been doing gold work. I think I must have been going through a shiny phase.
Subconsciously loving the gold work.
I know, just like colour and shiny things. So I'm going to have to go and find some people who do neutral things now, aren't I? To get a balance. Right then. So, Rie, before we get too far into your Stitchery story today, would you like to share with us what you're working on and what's got you excited?
So I've been prepping this week for Joanne Hawker's Meet the Maker March.
All right.
I don't know if you've heard of it. It's,
yes.
I'm sure some people out there have, but it's a 30-day challenge on Instagram. Quite a big challenge. You have to post every day different aspects of your design process, who you are. So I've just been prepping that this week.
Right.
And it's a great way to meet other people in the community and get your word out. And I tried last year, and then to about day 6, I think I failed and started filtering out. And then slowly I've had to post an apology just saying I've bowed out. So this year I've really tried to be, prep queen. Seems to be going better. I don't have as much anxiety as I did last year about it.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that's a really wise way to go about doing those things, because any visibility challenge like that is brilliant, but I think if you pressure yourself to, I'll just do it on the day, I don't think you get the best out of it, and it does get quite stressful, because then you'll be thinking, oh God, what am I going to say today? Oh, I don't know. Oh, I can't find that photo. Oh, etc., etc. And then you give up, don't you? So I think that's a really good idea. Now, isn't there, there's different prompts, isn't there, every day for that?
Yeah, no, so she's come up with some really interesting ones this year, and new ones as well. I don't think they're the same every year, but obviously there are still, the token, who you are and how you got started. But there's some really interesting ones, like on reducing waste and, what photography methods you use. I think it's a great way of learning how other artists, photograph, reduce their waste. I'm really interested to see, some of my people that I aspire to, how they do it. And it's just a nice way of feeling like you're part of something, I think.
Yes. Now, I stumbled across that last year. And so I think when I'd seen a few people, probably about day 4 or 5 or something, I said, oh, what's this going on? So I went and had a look. And I thought, right, because what I was then going to do was do something similar but for my work. Do you know what I mean? As a thing to make me do something every day. Now, obviously, with the work I do, producing podcasts and helping people with online marketing, coming up with something visual can be quite a nightmare. And I always say to people, do you know what? When you're an artist, you are so blessed because you've always got something visual to look at. Always. Whereas when you're doing something, a virtual service via the internet, trying to visually represent that's like going to be a damn nightmare. So
yeah, I was just about to say, that just sounds like a nightmare from the get-go. You've got to just make it, appeal, and that's the thing about, those sorts of things. It's hard to appeal, newbies.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. So, all right, so that sounds really interesting. And I was going to ask you, because I hadn't looked at the questions, if they were the same or different. So obviously you're saying that there's some quite interesting ones on there this year.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm very excited about this year.
Brilliant. Now, and did I also spot, because obviously, I stalk everybody on Instagram. Have you been busy doing a commission as well?
So I do commissions that I can post about, because normally the person says they can, but then I have commissions that I have to sign disclosures for, and I'm not allowed to talk about, which is really sad. But so that's kind of what my year's been. Has been a mixture of private and open commissions. Yeah.
And as you say, that can be quite, again, when we feel as if we've got to kind of be not chained to Instagram, but chained to Instagram. When you're working on something that you aren't allowed to talk about, I know other people have had it with books and with other commissions, or maybe working on films or something. It's like, I'm doing all this really nice stuff, but I can't actually tell anybody about it.
I know, and you're like, I've got to wait 5 months before I can tell anyone or show anyone anything. So it can be a bit of a fall from grace when you finally can. You're like, oh well, I'm on something else that's even more stressful.
Yeah, that was 6 months ago now. I forgot all about it, and so has everybody else. No.
And sometimes, sometimes I'm not sure if I can. If they haven't posted about it, can I? It's one of those things.
Yeah. I think that can be quite a juggling act amongst everything else, I think, then, really.
Yeah, but it's hard not to feel chained to Instagram and feel, because it is a commitment, I find, having a social media presence.
Yes.
But if you don't love what you're posting, or you're not feeling it on the day, I always say don't post.
Yes.
Just don't.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I mean, my posting goes up and down mostly because I'm doing the one thing that everybody says don't do. Don't try and be loads of places, but I'm in different places for different reasons, which makes it even worse. So I'm in LinkedIn for professional podcast producing. I'm on Instagram mostly for Stitchery Stories, but then I'm supposed to be doing more with my own channel as well, and I kind of really don't. Facebook, I've got 3 pages on the go. Oh, it's just
God. Well, that's so many. That's such a juggling act.
No, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And so consequently, do I get any far with any of them? Not really, but I can't get rid of them because they're for different reasons. I mean, I look after one for our embroidery group as well, for the Embroiderers Guild. So it's like,
oh God, it must be so baffling. Sometimes I post and I realise I posted it on my personal, and sometimes I posted on my personal, and I'm just thinking, oh no, sorry everyone.
More embroidery.
Yeah, it's just, and then you have to act really fast and hope that nothing got ruined. Oh, it's all fun though.
So, I mean, you talked about in your bio there a bit about your kind of further education in terms of embroidery. How did you first get interested in it all, Rie, and textile art? And, who taught you? What did you do? And then what made you move from studying at higher levels to then creating a business and deciding to go freelance?
Okay.
That's about 8 questions in one. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll try and touch on all those points. Yes. So I went to the Brit School and I was really into painting and drawing. That's just, I couldn't put a pen down. And then we did a workshop where we did printing on fabric. And I remember talking to my tutor, Tony, her name is. And I was talking about how flat and, some of the parts of my drawing had got lost. And she brought out this sewing machine, and I've been sewing on a sewing machine all my life, but I'd never seen an embroidery foot. I didn't know they existed.
All right, yeah. And
so she put this embroidery foot on, and she showed me how to do free motion embroidery, and I just remember not leaving till about 7 that day. And, from then on, I was just on the sewing machine, just drawing all the time.
Yeah.
So that's where embroidery was first introduced to me. And then between college, I did a year out where I travelled and I worked in bars and, just generally had a bit of fun.
Yeah.
And then I found this degree that did hand embroidery, solely hand embroidery. And I thought, wow, and you get to do it in a palace. Wow. So I applied with, next to no hand embroidery in my portfolio. It was all, painting and drawing and a few, machine embroidery. But somehow I got in. Oh. And so we had our tutor, Mandy Irwin, and she's just taught me everything I know. I cannot commend her more. She dealt with 9 giggling girls on a daily basis. And I just have to say she's just a wonderful RSN tutor. I think she's still working there, but she is just top class.
Now that's interesting though, that you hadn't actually done any hand embroidery, because quite often you think, oh, does it cross people's mind, think, well, I've never done hand embroidery, so why would I even apply to the Royal School of Needlework? So that was a really interesting thing there. So, if you are attracted to it but haven't done it before, I guess the message is, don't worry.
Yeah,
you've got a chance.
I mean, I knew that I was up against some pretty tough competition, so I didn't really have much hope that I'd get in. But I think they obviously saw where I wanted to go with embroidery.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a tiny bit of hand embroidery, but that probably was just, line here, line down, just making textures. But I think they saw where I wanted to go, and I really appreciate them letting me in and, learning what I got to learn. It's totally invaluable.
Yeah.
Totally valuable.
Well, absolutely. And I think that's really set the seeds then for the sorts of work you're doing now. So what made you think, oh, well, I'll try and earn a living at this?
I just thought, well, while I'm young, I mean, you just have to go after what you want. And I think, if that's what you want to do it. If it fails, you've still got 9 more lives, as I say, as a cat. If you choose to do this profession now, that isn't everything you are, but try it wholeheartedly while you want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one of those things. If I hadn't have done it after uni, I don't think I would have done it. I think it would have been a side hobby, something that kept my anxiety down, nothing that I took, full steam. And I'm very happy I did, because, it's really rewarding having customers message you and just, everything that comes along with this community. It's just such a warm, happy place to grow with your art.
Yes, it is. And we were just laughing there about Instagram, but, the social media that we have now that didn't exist 10 years ago or whatever, it really does help us to connect with others, share ideas, as you're saying, like the meet the maker thing. Like how do other people organise themselves, or how do they do, and what's their what's their point of view on X, Y, and Z? So I think it really is important to take the good aspects of social media for it. Let's face it, it enables us to have a career and a job in something totally different, and to remain connected, whereas a number of years ago it just wasn't possible. I do a job that didn't exist 10 years ago, let alone when I was at school 30 odd years ago. So I find it really fascinating, that. And so when you was thinking about setting up and going your own way, what was the kind of thought processes going in your mind where you thought, well, what can I do? How can I make something commercially viable? What was the steps behind all of that, Rie?
I don't really know. I think I just had so much stock left over from uni, and I do have hands that don't stop moving. I do have that syndrome where I can't put my hands down, and I was just started making, and then all of a sudden I realised, I wanted to make this, and then people would contact me and say, I like what you've made, will you make it in blue? And I think it just happened really organically. Right. I don't think I sat there and went, here's a business plan, here's this, here's that. It just sort of fell into place, and it's still falling into place. I'm not going to pretend I've got it all down and like a machine, but it kind of just happened organically, and I think for me that's the best way it could have happened.
Right. Yeah, because then you're working to feedback, aren't you? As you say, you try something, see how it goes. If no one's interested, well, then you're going to have to come up with something else. But if it does, then you're going to evolve and make iterations of those things. So, I mean, I have to say, when I was looking at your channel, and now everyone's going to laugh because I've just realised I haven't done your links. So there we are. You can all have a good old titter. Sue's forgot the links again. Right, so we can find Rie on Instagram, as we've just been saying. And she is Rie_Wenham_embroidery. And exactly the same on Pinterest, Rie Wenham Embroidery on there. And you have an Etsy shop as well, Rie, yeah? Yeah, so that's Rie Wenham Embroidery. So that's nicely the same. Obviously, all of those links will be on Rie's episode on stitcherystories.com as well. And also, you might want to get in touch with Rie. You can do that via email as well. So we've got her, mariewenham@hotmail.com. Again, that's on her episode. So there we are. I think I've got all the links now.
Yeah,
so
you've got the links down.
Yes, you can all stop laughing now. So what was I saying? Oh, yes. So when I've been seeing the work that you've been doing on Instagram and the pictures that you've shared with me, then insects and creepy crawlies seem to be quite popular, don't they? Where did that come from?
So it's weird. It's the spiders are sort of a weird, loosely tribute to my dad.
Right.
He just all throughout my childhood would always get so annoyed at me and my sister being so scared of them. And I think he definitely was the person that made me realise that spiders are not something to be scared of. In fact, he welcomed them in the house because, you know, they used to eat all the other bugs that we didn't like. So in a weird way, it's a tribute to him. Because whenever I think of spiders or look at spiders, I think of him. Mm-hmm. It's weird. And also, when I was a kid, we used to go to Scion Lane Park a lot, and in there they have a reptile sanctuary, and they have a butterfly room and everything. And I think going there really struck a chord with me.
Right. So your dad and making you not scared of spiders has been an inspiration to do spider and bug themed embroidery.
Yeah, well, it's just how I would like spiders to be seen. I think they're pretty spectacular, insects.
Yeah, they are very interesting, actually, aren't they? It's just some big creepy crawly ones that get you.
It's the same with snakes as well, though. I mean, my sister growing up loved snakes. She begged for a snake, all throughout her childhood, never got one. But it's little things like that. I think my family just sort of taught me not to be so afraid of these animals. As long as you're not, nasty to them, they won't be nasty to you.
Yeah, although I did get bitten by a spider in Australia, so I was pretty lucky about that. But apart from that, I have to say, when I go to reptile houses and stuff, I do like looking at the snakes and that. The gorgeous colours, and back to colours and stripes and patterns, and some of them are absolutely beautiful, deadly but beautiful. So
absolutely. And if weirdly, if you look at a snake's skin, you can almost translate it into embroidery just through your eyes, the texture and the way it moves. They're beautiful.
Yeah. And you put flowers on yours as well, don't you?
Yeah. If I can fit a flower in, fit a flower in. Yeah. Why not?
So you'll have to go and look. So Rie's met these lovely big spiders and snakes, and they've got all different pretty pastel-y pinks and purples and oranges, and they've got little flowers on them and goldwork and all sorts. They really are absolutely spectacular.
Beautiful creatures that everyone hates.
So I think it makes a good contrast, doesn't it, though, to make these like beautiful, pretty spiders, as you say that, everyone's like, oh, God, spiders.
Yeah, well, it was just to kind of maybe help people in their phobias and just to sort of take something that people deem ugly and just flip it on its side, Yeah. That's kind of what I was starting to do. Down the line, I realised it was a tribute to my dad, but at the beginning, I really just wanted to touch on the phobia, really.
Yeah.
So it's weird how that happens. I sort of sat there going, oh, my God, I think I've done this for Dad.
Yeah.
So... but I also like spiders myself. I'm always, saving them humanely, and my mum and sister are terrified of them, though, so he didn't get his message across to them at all. Constantly having to save them from spiders.
Oh, so other than being inspired by spiders and, the lesson from your dad over them, then would you say you've got any other major inspirations to your embroidery, Rie?
I would say... nature, really. I suppose, anything that grows from the ground I see as massive inspirations. And if I'm ever stuck on what to do or, what colours to use, I do look at floral arrangements. Yeah. Floral arrangements is probably where I get a huge amount of my inspiration because of the colour combinations. I think a lot of my work does stem from just colour theory and just how colours make you feel. I take a long time when I'm designing to pick my colours. I don't pick them half-assed. I really do sit and think about them, and I move the orange to the pink, and I go, no, that's not the right orange, So looking at floral arrangements does always spark a huge inspiration into my mind.
Yeah.
Because of the colour combinations they use. Yeah, you
can get some lovely ones. And then, of course, everything goes with green, doesn't it? Because that's nature, so you can't go wrong.
Exactly.
Green and something's always going to go.
And if you throw a bit of gold in there, you've got yourself a party.
Absolutely, yeah. Right. Now that's really interesting, though, being inspired by floral arrangements.
Yeah.
Now, and then I know the other thing that you're quite inspired by, if that's probably not the right word, but I know you're quite passionate about the waste that goes on in fashion and those, that kind of like fast consumerism thing. So, I have a couple of minutes just to get that in while we're talking about inspirations, because it is an inspiration.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think in this day and age, you can't ignore what's going on, and you can't ignore the fact that we are chucking away, we're throwing away perfectly good clothes without any thought. And I think the problem is we're losing love with clothes much quicker than we are buying them. And I think embroidery is actually a really good way to combat that by, changing the way you feel about an item. If you've got a jumper that you are thinking about throwing away, chuck some embroidery on it, and I swear to God, it will change the way you feel about it. And if it can stay in your wardrobe longer, then that's combating the whole fashion crisis, because it's more about the fact that we're just chucking things away because they're not quite right or they're too long. Just get someone who sews, or even sew it yourself. I mean, I've chopped up half of my clothes and I love them. Just see where it takes you, and as long as you fall back in love with an item, that's all that really needs to happen. Yeah,
and it is true. I think we do go through far too much stuff. I mean, when I had a proper job, I had ball dresses and suits and for functions and all these clothes and boxes of hats. Anybody looking at me now would be howling with laughing. But seriously. And then I just got to the point of, do you know what? I totally changed my life. I don't need any of this stuff anymore. So now I just mooch around in fleece tops and leggings and trainers, and that's it. I'm like...
That sounds awesome though, doesn't it?
Gone from one extreme to the other. I do have a collection of lovely shoes, but I hardly ever wear them, of course.
Well, the shoes are slightly different, because if you're treated well, shoes could last you, 20 years or more.
Exactly.
But so about 2 years ago, I started the, not buying anything new or not buying anything from a fast fashion brand. And it's actually been difficult, but it's also been fun, because I have to go, I can't have anything in mind when I go to a charity shop. I just have to go and see what they've got. I can't go, I really need a playsuit or really need a skirt or something. I just go and have a look, and I find it much more fun than walking in going, that's tailored because it's on trend and they put the colours that are on trend. We're brainwashed to think that these clothes are what we need now, and then in 3 months' time, we're brainwashed to believe that those are the clothes we need now again. It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, well, I think I've escaped that one. I don't think there might be trends. Well, I think there probably is trends in fleece tops and leggings, but it's not as bad, is it? But what I was going to say was, it must be a couple of months ago now, I came across a video on Facebook, and it was this, I think it was the same person, I don't know, doing all this really lovely mending with embroidery. So, covering holes up with flowers, and it was fantastic, was this video. I was like, absolutely just inspired. It's amazing, isn't it? And it's almost like a tattoo. You have made that piece, that item individual to you. If everyone has the same jumper but you've done embroidery on it, yours is special. Yours is completely different. And I think that's loosely like tattooing. You want to be different. You want your body to say how you feel about yourself. And I think embroidery can do that as well. Yeah, no, I think that's a really good idea.
It's a temporary tattoo.
Having temporary tattoos by embroidering your clothes. So brilliant. Yeah. Now, so in terms of techniques, you mentioned there about goldwork, crewelwork, and stumpwork. So why do you kind of like those techniques so much, Rie?
It's strange, because I love goldwork. I'm so in love with it. But I find goldwork on its own, it doesn't excite me as much as when I throw crewelwork in with it. Right. The colours and the textures that thread gives. And then when you throw stumpwork in there as well, I think all three of them combined just sings.
Right. Yeah.
I think if I was to just stitch in crewelwork, I'd be bored. If I was just to stitch in goldwork, I don't think I'd be bored with goldwork because it's so shiny and lovely. But there's something about all three that really feels like it's me, and it's what. If I didn't know my own work and I saw it on the internet, I knew I'd go on it. I know, go, wow, who's that? And I think you have to love what you make. If you don't love what you make, then you'll stop. You'll stop halfway.
Well, you might as well pack in, haven't you? Because if you don't live it, then nobody else is going to love it either, are they? Really?
Well, exactly. And I just think those three combinations mixed together. But I did have written down here my favourite stitches within those techniques.
Go on then.
So for goldwork, it has to be essing. I think that rope technique is just gorgeous. The fact, and also you can mix it with smooth and rough, and there's loads of little ways you can just play with it. For crewelwork, it has to be bullion knots because you can make loads of shapes and things out of that.
Yeah,
and stumpwork is really just making the skeleton and like getting the foundations down. I like doing that stuff. Yeah. I like thinking how it's going to work, because if you do the hard work and the stump work, when it comes off the frame, it should be your best friend. If you haven't done it right, then it's going to be a bit... Ugh.
Now, so with the spiders, for example, because they're quite 3D, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So do you do them, like make its body... I'm useless at stumpwork. So do you like make its body is like all padded and then do it? How do you put them together?
So you start with the outline and you pad the legs and the torso, and then I pad about 3-4 layers in the butt, so that before I even start embroidering, it's already off the fabric in some way, and it almost looks like a furry little friend, or like before I've even done anything. So yeah, I definitely like stumpwork. It's nice to like lay down foundation, because when you're embroidering over them, you can just start to see how it's going to look, and you think, yeah, I'm so happy I put that down. And yeah, some work's really rewarding if you do it right in the beginning.
Yeah, well, that's like lots of things, isn't it, really?
Yeah, get it right as best you can.
Yeah. So I'm sure there's been quite a lot of learning curves going on in there as well.
Oh, many.
Well, we might come to those later then.
Yeah.
So with all of that and the further education that you did, and then all the different things that you're doing now to combine your freelance career, what would you say has been the high point of your textile art and embroidery journey so far, Rie?
So I think I've got, like, I was saying to my friend the other day, I've got loads of little things that I'm proud of, and together they make me really proud. And I think with industries and jobs like this, you don't get one big happy moment. You get loads of little moments that, at the end of the year, you look back and you go, oh my God, like, what a great year. But one that definitely stands out was being part of the Glorious Goldwork book that was done by Sarah Axtell.
All right, yes.
She featured me and some other great people in there as their artists. And I think being, immortalized in print was one of my things I really wanted to do, quite soon. So being a published artist was something I really was honoured to be a part of.
Yeah,
and it's a great book as well. If none of you have got it, you have to get it, because again, if I'm ever stumped, I just open it and boom,
There's something in there. Now, Sarah was a guest a couple of months ago.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah, so when was that? About November time, I think.
Yeah,
it must have
just around the book's coming out, I think.
Yeah, it was. So that was Sarah's episode from Golden Hind. So, right, so you're in Sarah's book, so that's a nice thing. And what you said there before about adding lots of small things together, all of which combine to thinking, wow, I'm really chuffed about that. I think that's a really important thing in life, that we should celebrate all of our small successes as we go, rather than, as you say, waiting for that one big thing. Because I think we feel a lot happier, and as you say, then it mounts up. It's like a snowball, isn't it? It keeps you feeling happy and fulfilled with what you're doing, because you're celebrating even the smallest of things.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, again, we all of us have a problem with, really patting ourselves on the back. Sometimes when I get good news, I think, oh, that's amazing, but I've got to get on with this. And and I try and shrug it off. But actually, we really do have to take a moment and just go, wow, I did that.
Yeah. So what other moments have you got on your list for us, Rie?
So I work for Amy Robertson. She does some amazing embroidery, and I always like working with her because we just stay up late and sew gorgeous things with gorgeous sequins. Brilliant.
So then, going from things going well, and you're talking about stunt work there, so have you got any little stories or something where something didn't go quite as planned and was possibly even a bit of a disaster? Have you got anything for us? And importantly, what did you learn from that experience, Rie?
So I was thinking quite long and hard about this, because I haven't had any disasters where I've had to start again or move country or something. But I have So last December I was working on a commission, and I won't say what it was in case this person hears. It's all fine, by the way. I was sewing, and the fabric had to be a bit slack. It couldn't be taut. So I was anchoring my thread, and as I pulled it up to cut the end off, I actually cut the fabric.
Oh, no.
And a little hole just emerged. And because I was working with organza, I touched it, and it started opening, and I thought, oh, my God. And if anyone that knows me, I don't freak out often. It takes a lot to freak me out, but my stomach dropped. And I started thinking, I've got to start again. I've got to go to the shops and buy new supplies. I've got to message them and say, I'm so sorry. It's not going to be ready in time. But again, I just sort of heard my own voice in my head, and I said, no, deal with this now. Go get the fabric glue, paint around the hole, wait for it to dry, figure it out. And I remember, luckily there was a satin stitch to go over it. So as I was sewing over with satin stitch, the hole slowly got covered, and I remember feeling my anxiety just going down. And so somewhere out there is a hole, but you will never know because it's encased in silk shading. Satin stitch. So you'll never know.
Oh, phew. I can imagine. I can imagine that. And do you know, that's very similar to Joe Mitchell shared a story a couple of weeks ago where he, the stalk scissors dropped to some scissors and they made a hole straight through. That was something that was finished and somebody had just turned up to pick it up, and it's like, oh no.
Oh God! The thing is, you want to freak out and you want to run. You want to grab a bag and get your passport. But I think you just have to. With embroidery, the quicker you act, the less you panic about it.
Yeah, and I think that's the key learning point there, isn't it? Just kind of like take a breath, stop. You will be able to sort something out, but you need to just think about it.
Yeah, and I just thought, how would I treat this if someone else had done it? And I know exactly. I would have been like, calm down, get the glue, sort it out.
Yes, fantastic. Right, and then the other thing that it's usually quite funny to hear is, do you have any of those dreaded unfinished objects lurking around anywhere, Rie? Those things. Some of these things can go on for quite a long time and have their own little life, don't they? So have you got any of those that you might want to share with us?
Well, I actually have a whole little chest of UFOs are unfinished, but there's one in particular that is quite special because so it's my partner's birthday next week. And in 2014, I started to do him an embroidery, and I think I'm going to complete it by next week. I'm hoping. It's just a navy snapback with Chewbacca's face on it, and I'm almost finished with the fur. And I remember around 2014, I was almost finished, and he turns around and says, "Oh, do you mind embroidering Punch It Chewy on the side?" And I was going, "Yeah, don't worry, I'll embroider whatever you want on it." Yeah. And I think I put it down in the chest that day, and I've only really just got it out, this week to sort of dust it off. I mean, it's got a whole life of its own. It's dusty. I'm not even sure where the needles I use for it are anymore. I don't even know where the threads, if I can match his fur anymore. But I'm going to try because it's his birthday next week, and it would have been 5 years in the making for him. So that's something I'm really going to try and do on the weekend in my spare time.
Oh, well, that'd be nice if you can get that finished, won't it?
He might have to wait another year. You never know.
Does he ever mention it?
Yes. Yeah. A lot, but at the same time, he's a carpenter, and we have odd jobs around that he needs, So I think if you live with a carpenter or you live with an embroiderer, you don't get those jobs done for each other.
Do you know, it's always the same, isn't it? We're all like plumbers with leaky taps, aren't we? We never get round to doing the thing that we're supposedly good at. We never do it for ourselves.
Well, for our own loved ones, exactly.
Yeah, not even for ourselves. Our loved ones just get totally abandoned. Oh,
I know.
You're a loved one. You don't matter when it comes to this.
I will eventually, show the world the cap when it's done. But it was just one of those ones that you started it and then put it down, genuinely just forgot about it.
Yeah.
Other things get in the way, and it suddenly becomes this big thing you have to do. But one day, maybe. I mean, there's stuff in the chest that I've lost the love for, and I find that more difficult to jump back into if you really don't love it for yourself. But this isn't for me, thankfully, so I think I can complete it.
Yeah. Well, that'd be nice. And it's the delight of a deadline, isn't it? His birthday's coming up. Come on, try and get it done.
Don't we?
Yes. I had loads in January and February. I've done more embroidery than I've done ever, I think. Every night just about. I had all these things piled up. Things I said I'd do, or were for our own guild competitions, or various other stuff. And it was like, oh, dearie me. So I did actually. Saturday morning, there I was. I think I finished the last bit for for our branch challenge at 11:45, and I'll leave at past to get there. So
oh my God, you cut it fine then.
Do you know? And I stood there and I finished it, and I just thought, oh, well done, Sue. You finished it. You have 45 minutes spare. I was so chuffed. I had 45 minutes.
Put the kettle on, have a cup of tea and a biscuit.
I can have some lunch now, and then off we go. So.
Well, that's good that you're getting around to them. I mean, applaud you, basically. It's very hard to jump back into something when you've got new ideas as well. If you've got a new idea in your head, it's very hard to complete the old ones, I find.
Oh, it is. So I just keep a little production line going of what's on the go, but that's that. Yes, I think organising ourselves can be quite tricky, can't it? And I know, as you were saying there, because you're working with different projects and different things, really, it can be quite difficult to know from, more than a few days out what you're going to be working on. So is there any kind of just quick little tip that you have, how you kind of manage that? Or do you just think, well, okay, that's how it's going to be, and off you go?
A bit of both, really. I mean, I keep my diary with me at all times. I even take it to, out seeing my friends with me, just because it's a way of keeping my mind on a piece of paper. But I think it's also one of those things, I kind of like it like that. I try and manage my time quite evenly. I mean, I try and get to the gym as much as I can. That's one of the new things in 2019 I've really tried to do, because I've realised I've got quite a weak spine.
Self-care, we need it.
Yeah, my spine is definitely not right. So I've been trying to go to the gym as much as I can and do floor work and, stretching. And I find it has helped. And I also bought a back brace off the internet recently, and I'm finding that's kind of working. If anyone has any recommendations out there, I'd love to hear them of ones they might use. But it's just, as you said, self-care, and just trying to manage my work with my body, because also, we live in England, and only till recently we've been having such dark evenings, and it's very hard to get the right light in the room as well as on your frame, because it's really difficult to go from your frame to looking anywhere else in the room, because my eyes just go out of whack.
Yeah, absolutely. I think,
and I can't wait for the hour to go back. So it's just little things like that. Just trying to manage your work and your body, and not ruining your body, but not ruining your work.
Yeah, and that's really what I was having quite a good chat with Natalie Dupuy last week about that same issue, really, about looking after yourself and your posture and all those kind of things. So yeah, I think that's really, really crucial, isn't it? And I think the more we talk about it, and I think the more people kind of say, yeah, actually I am hunched over, or yeah, really I need to get myself a better light or a better chair, whatever. I think it is really important, because then we can keep on doing what we love, can't we? If we cripple ourselves.
Well, exactly. If it pains you, you're not going to do it, are you?
No,
exactly.
Absolutely. Saying that you have things coming along at fairly short notice, have you got any future plans or projects, Rie, that you can or you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, so I've got one that I can share with you, thankfully.
Brilliant.
I got approached by Claire Deportales, and she is going to make an online embroidery website called Le Temps d'Embroider, which translated to English means time to embroider.
Yeah.
And she's asked me to be an online tutor to, make designs and make kits, and she will translate them into French and Swiss and sell them over the Francophone market. So that's something really interesting that I've never done before.
Yeah.
It's almost weird having to go back and feel like a beginner.
Yeah.
Basically design and think about how a beginner would approach this. So that's all new to me, and I'm trying to relearn language that I haven't learned for 5 years. Because I call it, anchoring off or this or that, so it's just weird having to go back and go, no, don't include that. That's too difficult, or that's too easy. I want it to be difficult, but I also don't want it to be, a 10-day kit.
Yes.
I would like it to be something that someone could, get on with quite easily. So it's just a huge learning curve. I'm having to learn so much more than I thought I would, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. So hopefully, I think that's going to publish out in May. So hopefully, so you watch out for that.
Oh yeah, no, that'd be really interesting.
That would be fun.
What a nice project as well.
And if all goes well, I could do another one, and it would just be lovely to know that I might have got someone into embroidery, or something I've designed is in someone's room. I mean, that's the whole point of it, isn't it? It's connecting with absolute strangers over something we all love.
Brilliant. And I think on that lovely positive note, it's been wonderful speaking with you today, Rie. Really, really interesting. And, thank you so much for your time. And everyone go and find Rie on Instagram if you haven't already, or Pinterest, and go see what she's got in her shop as well. So, and then go and check out on the episode her lovely spiders and snakes, and there's some dragonflies as well for us to look at. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me, Sue. It's been great. That's an honour.
An absolute pleasure. If you liked this episode and want to hear more, then please join the Stitchery Stories fan club so you can get an email when a new episode is released. It's a quick and easy way of listening and of keeping up with any news and offers from our lovely guests. Please visit stitcherystories.com to join the fan club. Of course, if you have iTunes, then subscribe there to automatically get new episodes, and why not leave us a review and rating whilst you are there. So that is the end of our Stitchery story for today. So keep stitching, keep smiling, and keep creating your very own Stitchery stories.